Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu 5. I guess this is my second Cold Steel video this week. And I thought I would go through the Cold Steel catalog, which I just got in the mail. I'm going to talk about some things I find interesting in there. I'm not going to go through every single product, but I'm going to talk about the stuff that's purely interesting to me, why it's interesting, and unfortunately I won't be able to get anytime soon. But some people like these videos, some people find them boring. I'm just trying to start a conversation, get you a look into my mind, see what's going on in my mind, what things I'm drawn to. And first off, let's talk about the cover. I'm personally a little bit disappointed in the cover, just because it seems like Stone Cold Steve Austin is the main focus and not the knife. I love Cold Steel catalogs. Their photography is awesome. Like, their photography is like on the same level as a lot of the Master Bladesmith photography and pictures. But I'm not a WWE fan. I used to watch WWF back when it was WWF when I was a kid, and then I kind of outgrew it. I prefer UFC, but yes, this is a well-made, well-taken photo, but I would have preferred to seen a more knife-focused photo for the cover. Now, something I'm really like about this catalog is the first page is all new 2016. Shows you everything that's new for 2016, and it gives you the page number to all that stuff, and so that's cool. It's very similar to what Benchmade does. I'm not saying that Cold Steel got that from Benchmade. I'm just saying that Benchmade does something very similar, and other knife companies do as well. As far as the Broken Skull knife, I think it's a good knife. I like the fact that it comes in different colors. I would personally get white or blue, but I wish the blade was a satin finish, not black. I'm leaning away from black bladed knives for particular things. I don't mind DLC coated on some things, but I think for the white or the blue handled ones, they would look better if they were satin finished or polished. Make them less tactical and more everyday friendly. I don't know, I'm leaning away from tactical here lately. Not that it's tactical isn't cool, it's just not cool all the time. It's nice to branch out. Like, for example, with the Espadas, I like the kind of the black Espada as far as I gotta be careful when I say this. I think that they have a purpose, but I would much rather carry these more beautiful polished ones. That's what I'm drawn to, and these are more traditional. They're made from new materials, and they're heavily influenced by historical design, and you can tell that they're modern designs influenced by historical design, but I like this dressy, more polished version better. But I think that this has a place in the market. It's just not what I'm necessarily into. I got that. It seems like the partially serrated Tanto is a very popular knife. You see that from a lot of different companies. My views on that is, if I want serrations, I want fully serrations. Some people think if you get partially serrations, you get best of the both worlds. I think you get the worst of both worlds. Out of the Voyager series, I like the Vaquero, which I carry at work all the time. It's nice that they have a folding Scandinavian knife, and I'm interested. I like the Lucky and the Lucky One as far as the concept behind it. I'm really glad that Cold Steel is going to more of a gentleman's knife kind of feel like they offer that, but I'm not going to get one just because I have plenty of dress knives, and some of my dress knives need to be sent to the factory to be repaired. William Henry and Benchmade. They got beautiful katanas. That's a very odd katana, but apparently it's an actual historical design, which I've never seen before. Now, I'm going to go through the catalog and tell you my favorite swords. I hope to own a cold steel sword at some point. I just can't justify it right now. And the first sword I was ever interested in was the 1796 Light Cavalry Sable, because I like the curve to it, and I'm more cutting centric than thrust centric. I don't like the 1908, sword. It's not really a saber in my opinion, because sabers are a cut and thrust, and this is more of a thrusting sword, thrust centric, not cut and thrust. The only thing I don't like about this is the guard, but I do like the fact that it's a historical design. But on the other hand, I really like the Thompson saber, and you can't really see it that well here. It has a strong curve to it, raised skin, a good a guard on it. I love the hilt. $319 MSRP, or not MSRP, but a sale price on special projects. If I get a sword, this is on the high list of ones to get. And it's not a historical design, but I like the features of it. I tend to like historical designs because I believe that they existed for a reason, but I think this is a good, and I'm no saber expert. I have a book on it, but this to me fits me. It fits what I expect a saber to do and how it should be. I think it's a good modern interpretation of a modern design saber. If I were to buy an antique sword, it would probably be a cutlass though, because I like pirate history. Now this is something I'm really interested in. It's the Cinqueterre. 5-finger dagger, and it's an Italian dagger, and they're very famous for being highly ornate. They're a civilian weapon. I'm not saying that they won't carry it in battle, but they were a very dressy, beautiful, almost status symbol. You didn't necessarily have to be rich to have one, but if you were rich, your Cinqueterre looked like it. And the cool thing about this dagger is that it has what looks to be a belt stud sheath. As you can see right there, there's the stud, and you know what that means, although I don't know how wide it is. But that means theoretically, when I'm in Arkansas, I can carry this, because when I go to Arkansas, I carry big knives, including Bowie knives. I've carried my Laredo all over Arkansas. Yes, so when I'm at Renaissance festivals, which this would be very appropriate at, or if I'm in Arkansas, I could actually carry this, and that to me is an amazing, that I can actually carry this beautiful yet functional dagger, which, if I had to pick between a dagger and a Bowie, I think I'd pick a Bowie, but this to me is definitely the king of concealed carry daggers. The only other dagger that I think could really compare is the Cold Steel Taipan, but this has so much more reach. This has a blade length of 16 and a half inches. No? 14 inches. So maybe I can't carry that. I didn't look at the size. That would take up most of my body. Still could carry it at a Renaissance festival, and probably could open carry it in Arkansas, but don't think I can conceal carry it. I'm glad I saw the size, but it's $200. So if you want a Renaissance dagger to go to the Renaissance festival that can actually function in case someone gets drunk and attacks you, because alcohol is very prevalent at Renaissance festivals. They drink a lot of mead, which is not necessarily a Renaissance drink. Yeah, so people who like to dress up and like to have functioning props, this is a good buy. And I think it's well priced, and I think it's very beautiful. Now, if I were to get a more medieval style sword, I would get the Norman sword, just because my last name is Koboldson, which is a Norman name. Many people in the educational field, teachers who teach history, when they're teaching about American history, or Texas history, they talk about the Anglo-Americans or Angloids, or basically when they say Anglo-Americans or Angloids, they are referring to white people. And I'm here to tell you, I'm not Anglo or Angloid. I'm not an Anglo-Saxon. My name isn't an Anglo-Saxon name. It's a Norman name, which the Normans invaded England in 1066 at the Battle of Hastings, killed King Harold, and started the British crown. It just so happens that England is named after the Angles, and that the language that is spoken in both England and America is English, which comes from the Anglo-Saxons language and stuff. But I myself am not Anglo. I am Norman. That's like calling a Puerto Rican a Mexican. It's just not the same. They speak Spanish, but they're not the same. I thought I'd throw that out there. Now, this is a cool sword. It's the English back sword. The English back sword, I think, was kind of the predecessor to the English sable, which sables didn't originate in England, but I think England had the back sword, and then they moved to the sable. And I think the back sword is a very beautiful sword, especially this cold steel. I've seen some pictures of some historical pieces, and I think the look of them, the silhouette, is beautiful. And finally, out of the three swords I would buy from Cold Steel, it would be the Thompson Sable, the English back sword, and the Polish Sable. And again, the Polish Sable has a strong curve to it, and it's designed by Dave Bakel, who's awesome. He was one of the judges in Forged in Fire, and he is a pretty funny guy on Facebook. So yeah, I really like the Polish Sable. It doesn't have the hilt that I like on the Thompson Sable, but if I wanted a more historically correct sable, I think it would be this one. Again, I have no lineage to Poland or Eurasia or anywhere over there. I'm Norman, and my people settled in England, so I have more ties to the English back sword than I do the Polish sable. As far as sables are concerned, it's either this one or the Thompson Sable, and it's because I like the strong curve to it, and it's a broader, heavier blade, which this one has distal tapered, so it's probably lighter weight than the Thompson Sable. I'd have to look that up, look up the weight, but I don't like the very straight, thin sables like the civilian sables and the military sables. As far as like the military dress sables, Cold Steel makes some functioning versions of the military sables that you see the Marines carry in their dress uniforms. As far as their kind of Asian swords, I got to say both their scimitar and those shamshir look cool. I personally like the Tarwar Battle. I think it suits me a little bit better. But again, all of these have the heavy curve to it. I don't like how the scimitar's hilt looks. I like the Tarwar hilt better. And the Shashqua, Russian Shashqua, both the 1815 French officer sable and the Shashqua are some Cold Steel's most expensive swords. They're very highly decorated, If I had to pick between the two, I'd pick the Shasqua, but I don't intend to ever getting it. And it's strange, the 1815 French officer's sabre, I heard that the French sabres or swords were more straight, and this is a pretty heavily curved sword. And I hear that Napoleon preferred a thrusting sabre as opposed to a cutting sabre, which I could be completely wrong on that. I've only read Mike Lode's book 1.5 times because it's such a thick book, and it's very difficult for me to read because I'm extremely dyslexic. And the writing style is very difficult for me to read. But anywho, yes, I like the Shasqua as opposed to the French Army sabre, even though the Shasqua doesn't have a guard. It just, for some reason, I kind of like Russia as far as I had a Russian friend who did at one point try to kill me, and I learned a little bit of Russian for him. And in Texas, other than English and Spanish, Russian has been the most common language for me to come across, which is strange because you think it would be German. We have a German population in Texas. I just haven't really met them yet. I've met one guy you could call German, or two people that you could call German. I've met 4 Russians that could speak, that were actually from Russia. And I told you the story about in Galveston, where I talked to a Russian girl, waitress, and it was a pretty pleasant experience. As for the MMA series, or MAA, Men at Arms, not MMA, MAA. I don't really like this series that well because it just seems like from looking at the pictures, and also I saw one video on the Grossmesser MMA, that the quality slips dramatically when you get the MAA series. But I don't know that for a fact because I didn't handle one. I'm just going from what I'm looking at the picture. You can visually see in the picture that they're definitely cheaper, and in the one video I've seen on one of those swords, they say it wasn't too good. But if you want a cheap cold steel sword, by all means get it. There was the 3V Nightfall Taipan. This is a cool Tanto, but since I have the Hisho from Colombian River Knife and Tool, I will forego getting this Tanto. I got a traditional Tanto that is about the same size, and in my opinion is a little bit heavier than this, but it serves the same purpose as this knife, so I will not get that. Far as I love the Laredo buoy, I wouldn't mind getting the 01 Laredo with the black micarta handle, but I don't like the new sheath. I love the belt stud sheath. So yes, to me, Cold Steel ruined the knife by switching to that sheath. They didn't ruin the knife, they ruined the carry method, which the carry method makes sense if you're going to be a military man carrying a buoy. You want a Securex sheath, but me as a civilian, I'm going to be carrying it concealed. I want a belt stud sheath. Civilians really benefit from the belt stud sheath. You can carry it open, concealed, strong side, cross draw. It's just better. And I can say from experience that the buoy spike is the best from the Spike series. My brother owned one, and it has a wicked point on it, and it's really sharp. Trainers. Cold Steel is one of the few companies that puts out a wide variety of training knives, and they encourage you to use them. And these training knives are very, very stiff. They're rubber, but they're very stiff rubber, so you can actually practice disarms, and you can actually parry with them without them going limp. The bad news is if you hit someone or you stab someone very hard with these training knives, you can potentially break a rib or bruise someone. Me and my brother train with them, and training with especially the Laredo Bowie and the kukri, which thank God someone finally came out with a training kukri. That was very needed in the community. That we gave each other big bruises and whelps that lasted for weeks. And we used to have chest protection and stuff. Now we just wear gloves, and we kind of man up about it. But I want to tell you some very interesting training rubber knives that I think you should consider. One, if you're going to be training with buoys, get you the Laredo Trainer. For your 5.5-inch folding knives, get these 7-inch combat utility knife trainers. They give you the same reach as a 5.5-inch folding knife. So if you want to train with a 5.5-inch folder that you're going to most likely be carrying in Texas and maybe Arkansas and places that allow you to carry a large folding knife, these are a good way to go because it gives you the range, the reach that you would have with that folding knife. But then again, you don't have to get a aluminum trainer to train with those. But yes, get you the Bowie, get you the kukri, and for all of y'all people who claim that karambits are the ultimate knife, I know that was a fad, a while back. Karambit's the ultimate knife. That was their sales pitch on ultimateknife.com, which is a ripoff. They'll sell you Emerson's and Fox karambits and charge you taxes and shipping and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love karambits for particular uses, but they are far from the ultimate knife. And if you don't believe me, get you a karambit trainer and train with someone that has a 5.5-inch folding knife or a Bowie or a kukri, a combat utility knife. Reverse grip is good for close range, but if someone doesn't let you get in that close range, then it's really not that good. And guess what? You can use almost any of these knives and reverse grip as well. Don't get me wrong, karambits are cool. Karambits are effective, but they're not the ultimate knife. And my brother has been encouraging me to get the trainer for the purpose of showing me how not ultimate they are. And I realize they're not ultimate. It's just when I'm going to be carrying a knife in a place that's going to be very crowded and I can't carry a big knife, i.e., blade length laws that inhibit, a 5.5-inch self-defense knife, I feel the karambit is a very good way to go. But a karambit with boxing skills isn't going to give you the skills you need to take on anybody in any situation. Trust me, someone pulls out this, you got a karambit, you're screwed. If someone pulls out a combat utility knife or a 5.5-inch folding knife and you have a reverse grip karambit and you are not a skilled martial artist like Doug Maqueda, which I have some views about Doug Maqueda. I don't have anything against him, but there's some issues I have with him. Nothing against him personally, but some questions I'd like to ask him. But also find it extremely cool for my HEMA fans that they made a training rondel, a training medieval dagger, and a training spear, and a training left-handed dagger. So generally the training swords, I think, are too club-like. Just because the Bokens are kind of alright, but I got the hand and a half Boken, and I don't think I could safely spar with it, with another person. Now, there is something to be said that some of the training swords of medieval times I've read were heavier than the actual fighting swords, and this was to build muscle. So if you can handle an extra heavy training sword, you're going to be very well off with a combat weighted sword. And maybe that's what Colt Steel was going for. But as far as sparring, you want to stick with the rubber knives and maybe a lighter weight training aluminum or steel sword that isn't gonna crush skulls, and but these I have no problem with. I think they're some of the best training knives on the market. I just don't like the training swords as much. Apparently, I haven't looked this up, but on all the integral dropped forge blades, like the tomahawks and this one, they got monolithic axe and tool right beside the product. So maybe they're making the knife or tomahawk for cold steel. I'll have to look into that. How long is this video? Here we go, the 01 Combat Classics, Laredo, Natchez, and for you kukri people, I know the kukri people are hardcore, get a Nepalese kukri from Toro Himalayan Imports. But I will encourage you to get a cold steel kukri machete as a combat weapon. If you want a self-defense knife that's big and you're not planning on concealed carrying it, you're wanting it as a home defense knife, the cold steel kukri machetes are awesome. In fact, I know a woman who owns a kukri machete for her self-defense tool for her house. And to me, the best innovation in the kukri world is this right here. Me and my brother have trained with the kukri trainer, which has this, and if you don't want it, you can cut it off of the trainer. But that guard right there allows you to do so many different things. Catch blades, you can trap with it. It's just such a good addition to the kukri. I don't see myself getting the cold steel kukri without it. So if you're going to get a cold steel kukri machete or the 01 Combat Classic, get the one with the guard. It really, really helps in our sparring. We found that the kukri with this guard beats the Laredo buoy on many different levels when sparring. The only thing that the Laredo has over this kukri is that with the proper sheath, it's concealable. And it's more civilian friendly for civilian carry. These I don't really care for. If I want a sub-hilt, I want it to be metal. If I want a guard on a knife, I want my guard to be metal. I don't mind a rubber or craton thumb ramp, but don't give me a guard that's not metal. That's just how I am. I'm weird, I guess. Love the Bushman. Bushman is one of the best hunting knives, and this is not monolithic axe and tool, but I love the Bushman. You can make it into a spear. It's pretty easy to throw. It's made out of SK5 high impact steel, and I decapitated a deer with one once. It took, it was a chopping motion. I had to chop and hack at it. But in Texas, you have to have the head in order to get it processed. So I quarter my own deer and take them to the butcher, and then they finished it up there. Yes, I was able to decapitate a deer with this Bushman. It did chip it slightly, but it sharpened right out. Awesome, very tough, very good for the price. And Nos 4 is very impressed with these. He did a whole destruction test, and you can tell when he's impressed because he has this weird laugh. He goes, ha ha ha, and it's just awesome. So, I got the Shanghai Royal. To me, it's like a modern day Smatch It. Yeah, so stay tuned for that video. I don't plan on getting a cold steel glasses, especially since I can't try them on before I buy it. The thing about the Blackthorn Shillelagh, I don't mind the Blackthorn walking stick. Don't like the Blackthorn staff because I think it's just too big. But the Shillelagh is interesting because I would love to own a Blackthorn walking stick, like an authentic one, or a authentic Blackthorn fighting stick, or Shillelagh that's made from Irish Blackthorn wood. I don't mind the walking stick because you have this smooth area for you to hang on to, but the Shillelagh is very knobby. It has a lot of knobs on it and very pokey. It's kind of plain right here where you're intended to carry it, but if you want to grab it up high, I really don't see a good way of doing that. I don't really like Cold Steel. I like the short design, but I don't like the fact that they say Master Bladesmith. In my opinion, Cold Steel is not a bladesmith, or the company doesn't smith blades, which they'll stock removal in my opinion. I don't know of any of their knives that are forged in a way that a master bladesmith forges his knives. I think that Cold Steel, in a lot of ways, makes the best production knife to compare to a ABS bladesmith, far as how tough they are, not in quality, far as sharpness and fit and finish, but far as toughness, I think Cold Steel knives are very comparable to ABS, although I've handled very few ABS blades. The ABS blades that I have handled were in the forging process. It was just, they were waiting to be finished. I got to talk to ABS Junior Smith, and it was pretty cool. He's a interesting guy, Mike Ruth Jr. A lot of ABS bladesmiths have their own particular style. Nick Wheeler has a very definite style. A lot of the other bladesmiths, like Murray Cardle, has a very distinct style, but although he doesn't really make weapons, he makes kitchen knives. But out of the people who make Bowie knives, Jerry Fisk, who taught Mike Ruth Jr., Nick Wheeler, Jerry Fisk, in my opinion, and some of the knives I've seen, his are very similar to something that would come from the 19th century, something that I would expect to see made by Sheffield or in Arkansas at that time, or in California. They're very beautiful, very. I don't want to use the word rustic, but they are historically inspired. Nick Wheeler has a very modern Bowie method of making a Bowie or design, and Nick Wheeler has a cool concealed carry pocket Bowie that I would love to have, but I don't like Nick Wheeler's guard on his full-size Bowies. On his full-size Bowies, I think his guards are too small. They don't serve the purpose of protecting your hand from incoming blades. But they do protect your hand from sliding up. But I think Nick Wheeler's Bowies are cool because they're modern. They have a very neo Bowie look to them, and you can look him up on Instagram. He's Nick Wheeler Knives in Newfoundlands. He loves Newfoundland dogs, but I like his pocket Bowie, but I don't like his full-size Bowies as much. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have one, but to me his full-size Bowies, I don't like the guard on him. Mike Ruth Jr.'s Bowies, on the other hand, they trip me out. I like the more traditional Bowie, and his Bowies are more rustic in the sense that, they're not high polish, high speed, low drag in the sense that Nick Wheeler Bowies are made, in my opinion. They're rustic for as they're made from more exotic woods, ivory, his handles are what really stand out to me. His blades stand out and his handles stand out. I hate to use the word fantasy because anytime you describe a blade as being a fantasy blade, you think of the Bud K thing. His Bowies are very much a functioning weapon. And something that I've seen with his Bowies that I've seen nowhere else is he'll make a big Bowie with a sub-hilt on it. And at first I talked to him on Instagram. I was like, I'm not sure if I like the sub-hilt on a Bowie because I'm a very traditional Bowie guy. I like the coffin-shaped handle. on some of the other traditional handles. I really like the coffin-shaped handle. And I was talking to him, I was like, dude, the sub hilt on a large buoy just seems weird to me. And he's like, dude, if you try the sub hilt on you know, a big buoy knife, you'll find it very practical. And I bought me a cheap sub hilt knife that was kind of a brick of a knife, and I played with it. It was an M-Tech, and I was like, wow, sub hilts have their place. I didn't think I'd like them. And his buoys, sometimes he has very long, slender buoys. Sometimes they have a slight recoil in them. To me, it's like a style completely different from any other buoy that's being made in the best way possible. I like Nick Wheeler's buoys as far as high speed, low drag. I like Jerry Fisk buoys because they're still in a very real sense modern, but they're more rustic and true to the historical design, as is a lot of Master Bladesmith buoys. And Mike Ruth Jr., his falls somewhere in the middle. They're very modern in the sense that, to me, they're not as traditional as Jerry Fisk, or at least some of the Jerry. I haven't seen a lot of Jerry Fisk knives, but I have seen some on Instagram. To me, Nick Wheeler almost makes a single style of buoy. Like it's the same style of buoy, but he has different sizes. But they're pretty much all the same with different handle materials. Mike Ruth, his imagination is so much broader, and he has, at least on his Instagram account, he has a broader design profile that to me is just very, very interesting. And I'd love to handle one of his complete buoys. He had some that were kind of waiting to be finished, and you know, he had some cool Damascus and stuff. Like I said, very interesting guy. He's very creative, and I guess that's what to be taken from this discussion. This video is probably very long right now. I should probably hurry up. Things to think about on this page. The Kudu is a good beetle knife. The Thin Hawk, I'm kind of interested in. It seems like a good Mora alternative, although I love Moras, and Moras are cheap. So why should I get another cheap Scandi knife when Moras are just as good? But this is that German Krupp steel, I believe. And I think all these knives are the German Krupp steel, or Karup, or whatever you call it. Thing to remember about the German Krupp steel: it's practically rust proof. I'm not going to say it's as rust proof as H1, but it's practically speaking rust proof. So you can take them to the beach. We've done it. We've taken them to the beach several times, and they're good bait knives. I personally love the Roach Belly. Canadian belt knife a little, but Roach Belly is awesome. But if you need a good tackle box knife, I would say get the Krupp steel knives. And the steel is relatively soft, but it sharpens very, very easily. With most soft steels, that's the case. They hold a decent edge, and they get scary laser sharp. The Kudu, in my opinion, not so much, but these Hollow Grind and the Scandinavian, I haven't tried the Scandinavian, but I'm assuming with all Scandinavian blades, you get a very, very thin edge, and these Hollow Ground ones get a very, very thin edge. They get scary sharp, and it's easy to maintain that scary sharpness. So I, for one, am a big fan of the German Krupp surgical stainless steel. And there's a new cold steel knife that my brother just got that I can't remember the name of. It's a Clip Point ProLite, I think. It's awesome. Not necessarily my favorite knife far as the handle, but I love the blade. He will let me borrow it and review it. I foresee that in the future. I have handled it, have talked to him about him using it. He loves it. Yeah, monolithic axe and tool. Again, with these integral drop forged blades, I noticed that. I personally don't like these. They remind me too much of an S-wing, which I guess it's Cold Steel's version of an S-wing, but I just don't like the S-wings that much. I don't know. I have not had good luck with axes. The best axe I've ever owned was a Fiskars, and not that the Fiskars wasn't good for the price, but I really want a Basque axe, and I really want a Gransfors Brooks axe. And if I get this stove that I'm looking at, when I get the money to get this stove, I'll have an excuse to get an axe. And I'll probably get the Basque axe first because it's more affordable and it's very odd, and I like odd things. Monolithic again, don't like these tomahawks because I think tomahawks should be very lightweight, and these just look like a club. Although, technically speaking, as far as Texas is concerned, they consider a tomahawk a club-like weapon as opposed to an edge weapon. And strangely enough, you know, tomahawks are technically illegal in Texas, but hatchets are not. Now, you can use a tomahawk in the woods, but if I carry a tomahawk in my vehicle and I'm just like in the Walmart parking lot and a police officer were to look at it, I would get some strange looks. But if I had a hatchet in my vehicle in the Walmart parking lot, it wouldn't really be that big of a deal. And they're virtually the same thing, axes and tomahawks. At least this type of tomahawk, which is very S-wing-esque, is very, like, if you had an S-wing hatchet and this tomahawk, for some reason the S-wing would be looked upon, oh, it's a tool, and this would be some kind of scary weapon. And really, it's just, there's really no difference performance-wise. Have no interest in halberds, no interest in the Brooklyn Smashers. My brother really loves his blowgun. I wouldn't mind having one, but I don't think I would use it. Liverpool Assassin. My friends in the UK and everywhere else that doesn't play baseball would probably really appreciate this. I don't like baseball or cricket, so I'm not interested. So, yeah. The Templar is a throwing weapon, and they claim in the description that it's a historical design. I've never seen it referenced in any of the documentaries or books that I've read. And I'm not saying it didn't exist, because I have an interest in HEMA weapons. I have an interest in historical edged weapons. That is like my thing. Historical edged weapons. That's why I like the Navaja Croca, because it's a historical edged weapon that I can carry and it won't be out of place. But in the books that I own and the documentaries on medieval weapons and Renaissance weapons, I've never seen this. So yes, I'm not calling Cold Steel a liar. I don't know of any instance where they've lied before. Maybe misled with an exaggeration, but not like a straight up, I'm going to call this and it's not that. Cool knife right there. I'm assuming that one's... Yeah, I did get my brother one of these. Yeah. To me, in my opinion, if you want a cheap camp knife, that's probably